Hello, my name is Darcy, and you have found the Chit Chat Knits podcast. I hope you're doing well. If you're a returning viewer, I thank you for coming back. And if you're new today, I welcome you. This is a podcast mostly about knitting, but a little bit of crochet and other fiber good stuff thrown in. So today is July 27th, and it is definitely summer here in Western Wisconsin. It is hot and steamy. I went out walking this morning. I've been trying to walk every day. I'll tell you why I'm down to walking now when I tell you about my new fashion accessory here. But when I was out walking this morning, there was all of a sudden there was thunder and lightning, and I felt a few sprinkles, so I quick zipped back home, and then it all blew over and we're left with hot and steamy. But it is the end of July, so I guess that's appropriate. We have gotten a little bit of rain, so that's good because it had been pretty dry, so we're glad to see some rain. But anyway, let's talk about this new thing I'm wearing. At least it came in basic black, right? So it matches everything. This sling is because I actually broke my collarbone. It's the first broken bone I've ever had. It was 2 weeks ago. I was riding with Doug, my husband, on the mountain bike trail. A trail we love riding, and it was just one of those crazy things that happened. I fell not all that hard, but I hit a berm on my shoulder and it ended up popping my collarbone. So there's two questions that everyone, friends and family have been asking. Number one is, did you have to have surgery? And the answer to that is no. And number two is, can you still knit? And the answer is yes. I have been able to knit a little slower than normal, but that's okay. That's okay. I can still knit with the sling. The sling just helps. It just makes me a little more comfortable. So I don't know how long I'll have to wear the sling, but I know I won't be mountain biking for a while. So I can do that. As long as I can get out every day and walk, I'm good. So anyway, you never know what turns life is going to take, do you? But it's all been good. I can still do all the normal things I like to do, mostly, except bike riding. But anyway, we're here to talk about fiber goodness. So let's get to it. Oh, before we do, I want to mention that you can find me. I'm going to have it in the description box, but I am Darcy. And on Instagram, I am Chit Chat Knits. On Ravelry, my personal things are at Knitterdat. And then my designs are at Chit Chat Knit Designs. And you can email me at chitchatknits@gmail.com. And I also have a website, chitchatknits.com. So there's all this stuff. And I always put it in the description box. So I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to contact me. Anyway, let's talk about some knitting, should we? Yes. So the first thing up are, you saw these last time, the crisscross socks, and this pattern is almost ready to release. I just think test knitters are the best people in the world. They are so wonderful at knitting and making comments and suggestions, and I just value what they do so greatly. But anyway, here's a pair of crisscross socks, and this yarn is by Up North Yarns, and it's what she calls a dye dump, where she just I think she uses leftover dyes and then makes a one of a kind, and I think it's really pretty raspberry color. But here is my latest pair. I'm going to show you on the sock blocker. So here it is. Isn't that pretty? This is by Get Knit Faced in Colorado, and the colorway is Boo to You. I think I showed it to you in a skein 2 weeks ago, and now I have a complete, or maybe, I don't know. Now I have a complete pair of socks, but I left this one off the blocker because the really magical part of this pattern is the cable design that runs down the front of the sock. I think it's so pretty, so pretty. And I have some ribbing on the back of the sock leg, so it just snugs in the leg a little bit, and then ribbing down the foot, which also kind of keeps it in. Of course, if you like your sock a little looser, you wouldn't have to add all that ribbing in, or if you don't like to rib, that's, you know, you don't have to do that. But the beauty is in the front of the leg design, I think. Look at how pretty that yarn is. Look at, there's some tonal speckles of pinks and purples, but overall it reads purple, and oh, I just love it. So, did I say this was Get Knit Faced? This is not Get Knit Faced. Uh-oh, I goofed that up. That is not. This is Fangirl Fibers in the colorway Boo to You. Fangirl Fibers. I'm going to show you the yarn, what I'm doing with the Get Knit Faced in just a minute. But this one is Fangirl Fibers. Very, very pretty, pretty yarn. So it does have cables. If you've never done cables, don't be afraid of them. They're really simple. I did use a cable needle. A lot of times I don't use a cable needle. There are a couple of videos. I think Very Pink Knits has a video, and I know Andrea Mowry has a great video on how to cable without a cable needle. But because of using fingering weight yarn and on a size 1 needle, and I use a 9-inch circular needle, I found that a small cable needle worked really well. You could also just use another double point. There's a lot of options, but I did find that it was easier to not drop the stitch when I used a cable needle. But anyway, August 1st, be watching for it. I will have pictures on Instagram and let you know, and I usually do a little discount when I release a pattern, so be sure to watch for that. All right, well, since I showed you the Get Knit Faced in Colorado label, let's look at the project, should we? Here's the yarn that I'm using right here. Oh, isn't that pretty? There's such pretty colors in it. I really love blues, greens, purples, pinks. Those are sort of my colors. So this yarn sort of jumped off the peg the skein was hanging on into my arms. I really think it jumped off and said, please take me home. I just loved it so much. I had to have it. And to me, it's a special skein of yarn. And it's also a souvenir skein because I purchased it when I went to Rochester, Minnesota for Zombie Knitpocalypse. I purchased it from a yarn truck, which is the first time I'd ever shopped in a yarn truck, which was amazing. And so you see it as a special skein to me. So I decided to design a cowl, and I'm calling it the Spesh Cowl, S-P-E-S-H, and it's intended for use with that special skein, maybe a souvenir skein, something that you just love, that skein that jumps into your hands and says, bring me home. So here it is. I've shown a couple little pictures on Instagram, and I'm just going to show you a little bit because the design is almost done. Let's see. It's upside down. Here it is. Okay. It's intended for that. I'm not going to show you a lot because I want to get it done. But it's intended for that special skein of yarn that you just love, that maybe you've been saving, maybe you bought it on a trip as a souvenir skein, and you want to do something with that, but you've thought, maybe I don't want to do socks with this because I want it to be something that I can wear and it can be seen and I can really enjoy it, where I'm, you know, if I have pants, I don't really see my socks that much. So it is called the Special Cowl, and it is a very easy to memorize pattern. So it'll be a great knit for knitting when you're visiting with friends, when you're binge watching something, a movie or something you really love watching. If you're out at a ball game or something like that and you want something to knit on that is, it's really easy to memorize and read the pattern. So that will be coming soon. I'm going to send it off to testers in the next few days. And I'm really hoping that the testers have fun with this and get creative, because I'm thinking that there's a lot of possibilities. And I have some a mini skein fade set in blues coming from Nanette Wake Studios in the next couple of days, and I want to make one that fades. So I think there's a lot of possibilities for using scraps, for using mini skeins, for just using one color in that very special skein that you really love, or two, with alternating. So making it striped, there's a lot of options for this pattern. So more to come. Watch for Instagram for teasers. It's coming. There it is. Very pretty. The Special Cowl. It's been sort of occupying my knitting the last few days. Anyway, let's see. What else is on the needles? Well, what's on the hook is my blanket. I'm still getting a little bit of that in each day. I'm really loving it. What I really love about this is it's a use it up project. I have a lot of leftover little bits of fingering weight, so I'm putting two similar colors together and just holding them double. And you know, if I run out of one, I just pick up something else that's similar and finish it. I've been so far going with 2 repeats, 2 rounds of the triple crochets. But you know, as we get bigger, I might just go to 1 round. Who knows what's going to happen? But I've found this really enjoyable to pick up. You know, was it the sock lady? I can't remember her name. Kay, the sock lady? Anyway, she was saying 30 minutes a day. And I thought, what a great idea with a project like this. Just sit down for 30 minutes a day and work on that project. I thought that was a great idea, and I'm going to try to do that. It's kind of one of those great things for in the evening when you don't really want to think too much. You can just pick it up, don't have to do any planning, just crochet around, and uses up some of that scrap that, you know, just those little bits of yarn that are left over that I hate to throw away, or that's nice to use them up. And I'm really excited to have this. In the fall, we have some camping trips, and I think it's going to live in the camper with me. So it'll be perfect for fall. What else do you see here? Do you see some things right here? Well, let me tell you about what I did this week that I'm really excited about. My husband was on a little bike trip with a friend, and I thought, I'm going to play around with something. So I have well, this is a longer story, because here's what happens. So where we live, we have a lot of deer. We have woods, we live on a lake, so there's water. There's a field across the road, so there's things for animals to eat. And the deer love to live here. Well, deer also love to eat plants. So I was always I have this, one of those barrels under my mailbox, and I was always trying to grow flowers up there. My neighbor has one, and grows this beautiful banquet of flowers around hers. And I would try to put in a few little geraniums, something, you know, very simple. And the deer would come and just chomp them up. Every time I get a flower, they would chomp away at my flowers. And so I learned that if you plant marigolds, they will leave the marigolds alone and you don't have to do any of the deer off or any of that stuff. And I'm not much of a gardener, so I decided I'm going to make this simple, and I put marigolds in there. Well, then I had a skein of bare, you know, just bare fingering weight yarn, undyed. It was just a knit pick skein. It was living in one of my drawers, and I thought, I'm going to mess around with that and see what would happen if I tried to dye with marigold blossoms. And this is what I got. Isn't it pretty? Such a great yellow. I love the way it turned out, and it was such a fun process. So here's what I did. I took my skein of yarn and I just put it in water. I read several blogs on the internet, and they all pretty much had the same recipe. So I knew this would probably be the best way to do it. So I put aluminum sulfate, which I had on hand, just a little. I just dumped a little in my water and used that as a mordant to help the dye, the yarn take the dye. So I just soaked it in that mordant water with aluminum sulfate. Meanwhile, I went and picked off the blossoms. So instead of the deer eating them, I picked them off, but that's okay. It's blooming again. And then I took those blossoms and I put them in water, and I let that water simmer for, I think it was about a half an hour. I just brought it up to a boil, turned it down, let it simmer. Then I took the blossoms off the water, and I have a couple pictures I'll throw in here. Put those in the compost, and then I just took my yarn and I just slowly put my skein down in the water. And then I watched it. I let it just simmer for about 10 minutes, checked it, and thought, let's go another 10 or 15. And in about 10 minutes, I decided that was enough. So I just turned the heat off and I let it sit for, I don't know, 15 minutes or so. And then I actually took the whole pot and put it out on my front porch. And I didn't have that much water in it. It just, you know, it was only one skein. So it wasn't that, you know, I didn't have tons of water. And I just let it sit out on the front stoop for, I don't know, an hour or so until the water cooled. And then I just took it out of the water and squished it. Oh, I did actually wash it then with a little, we'll wash some soak. I had the soak soap. Just put a little soak in the water, let it sit, squished it around a little bit, rinsed it a little bit, and then took it outside, squished out some water, hung it up to dry, and then even with the hot, humid weather, it was dry in a couple hours, fully dry, and this is what I got from marigold blossoms. And I love it. I think it's so pretty. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, but I was really happy with the result. And look at this. I have this sitting there because this is for an upcoming project, and look at how pretty they look together. So I don't know if they'll go together, but it gives me ideas of putting this with something. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But this, let me tell you about this. This is another Woolens and Nosh. You know I love Woolens and Nosh, her self-striping yarn. And this one is called Pretty Felt Garland. And I had talked to Michelle because I wanted a Christmas self-striping yarn. And so she had this and was able to send it to me. And what I'm going to do is make myself another knit chat cowl. I'll put a picture in up here. This is a pattern I released in June, and I love it. And I'm so excited because there's a knit chat cowl knit along going on. And the hashtag is knit chat cowl cow. Say that 3 times fast. It is being hosted by Michelle of the Naughty Knitwits and Carrie of, I think she's Carrie Makes Stuff. And it has been so much fun to go to the hashtag #KnitChatCowCow and look at all the beautiful self-striping cowls that people are making. So I want this one for Christmas. And maybe there's some Christmas make-alongs going on too. So maybe I'll enter that too, just to show the cowl. But anyway, look at the colors in there. It's not your traditional red and green. There's some red, some turquoise, light and dark, a little bit of pink, a little yellow. It's called Pretty Felt Garland. So that does remind you of a garland. I think it's going to be gorgeous. So as soon as I finish my other cowl, this one's getting wound and on the needles. I just think it's going to be so fun. It's going to be so great in December to wear when my ukulele group goes out and plays with my red ukulele shirt. I just thought it'd be fun to have a pretty cowl to go with that. So that'll be coming. Exciting. And it looks so pretty with that gold. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. What might happen, but knit, chat, cowl. All right, then in other things, I've been thinking of, I still would like to knit a summer top. Have you knit a summer top this summer? I've been looking at patterns and buying patterns and just think that I'd still like, because you know, you can still wear a summery top in the fall, early fall. So here's some thoughts. Well, one thought I have is a ranunculus. I have never made a ranunculus, and oh my gosh, that pattern has been on the top hot right now on Ravelry forever. So there's got to be, I did buy the pattern and it's a beautiful pattern. Let me tell you, it really is well written. So I might have to make that because it really is a nice sweater. I also have, I don't think I want to use this for a ranunculus though. I want to use this yarn. Isn't that pretty? It's just a little creamy, almost a light, I don't want to say light tan, dark cream. And it's got little speckles in it. And what it is, it's Sueno Tweed by Haiku. That's a skeisel yarn. This is the colorway Comforting Cream. I bought this last summer and then didn't use it. And I just think it's got those little color flecks in it. I think it would make such a nice summer top. It's merino wool, viscose from bamboo, and then the flecks are viscose. So it's 69% merino, 16% bamboo. And I just think that would make a nice top. So the pattern I've been looking at is that 70s tee, and it's by This Bluebird Knit, or This Bird Knits. In the pattern is done in stripes, but I like the shape of it. It's just a little cap sleeve. I'll try to put a picture here. But I did look at the projects and there were people who had made it in just one yarn. So I think it would look pretty in that. It has a really nice diamond pattern on the body, kind of a lace, not lace diamond pattern. So I think this yarn would show that lace really well. So that's in the dream knitting. I really think I'd like to do that. Are you knitting a summer top? Or is it time to start on fall and winter sweaters? What to do? We'll see what gets cast on. We'll see. Anyway, recently I had someone ask me, what is your favorite thing to knit? And you know, I kind of stopped in my tracks at that question because I knit a lot of things. You know, I knit socks and accessories and sweaters, and I thought, what is my favorite thing to knit? I really had to think about it. Do you have to think about that question? What is your favorite thing to knit? I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a comment. Tell me what your favorite thing to knit is. But when I really think about it, it's probably hats. I really think hats are fun to knit because, well, I really like to design hats because I love to use different stitch patterns, and I love the challenge of creating the crown of the hat, the crown decreases, and making them look pretty with the rest of the stitch pattern in the hat. And hats are fast. You know, you can knit a hat in a couple days. Well, I can knit a hat in a day or day and a half, whatever. You know, who knows, depending on what time you have. And you can use a variety of weights of yarn. So I would say my favorite thing to knit are probably hats. And I have some hat ideas mulling around, so some hats are probably coming up. Anyway, love to hear from you. What are your favorite things to knit? I hope you're having a great summer. I hope you are safe, enjoying the good weather, and enjoying your knitting or your crochet or whatever you're crafting. I just hope you are enjoying all the things. Happy knitting.